Hi, Dan Alexander here, and this episode is brought to you by Required, the all-in-one go-to platform for serious recruitment professionals, owners, and founders who are looking to grow their businesses. Now, we'll actually be launching the new online platform very soon, and if you'd like to be one of the first people to get access to our state-of-the-art learning platform and vault of online resources, then get in touch with us through the link in the description of this episode.
All right, welcome to the Recruiter Startup Podcast. I'm joined today, as ever, by my co-host, Dan Alexander, the performance coach. Is that what we're calling you now? What are we calling you? Have you got rid of that neuro thing that you were calling yourself before?
Yeah, that's done.
That's done. We've evolved, right?
We all evolve. Yeah. Evolve or die.
Evolve or die. Well, we're going to talk a bit about that to Nathan Adams today, who's evolved his business. How are you, sir?
I am absolutely fantastic. Not very happy that I'm the third best looking bald man on a call of three people, but we'll keep moving.
Yeah, and the youngest out of us as well.
Yeah, doesn't look it, does it?
Yeah, God. It's been tough.
How old are you?
I'm 28.
Oh, wow.
Thanks, Dan.
No, in a really good way. Really, not from looks, but I'm just jealous.
Yeah.
Of what? No one's ever said that.
The best is yet to come.
The check shirt. Let's start with that.
What's wrong with
You look like every man in my home pub in Donegal on a Friday night.
I wish I was in your home pub on a Friday night.
Hey, we would have some crack, although it would take us a little too long at this tender age of 40 for me to recover.
40?
I know. You could be my son.
I might be.
We'll not go down that road. Okay. So, cover a few things today. We'll talk a wee bit about hustle culture. Dan, I think, has been called out for being the poster child of hustle culture. And I don't know, what do you think about that, Dan?
Behind every successful person, there's going to be a pack of haters. And I think the thing is, the more we're putting this out there and the more this message is getting out, the more people are going to not like it because, well, recruitment's gone soft, right? There's too many candidate experienced people out there. There's too many, be a nice person. There's too many mental health stuff. It's great. It's good to have balance, but where's the hard stuff gone?
Where has it gone, Nathan? I'm too soft. I'm part of the problem here, by the way.
I'm the exact same. So, like we just said, I'm only 28. So, my recruitment experience, a lot of it has been brought in with the soft stuff, so to speak. But I think I am one of the very few that. One of my biggest regrets is recruitment. When I speak to people when we're in the Required group, when we're in that, and you hear some of the stories of people who are older than me, who have had the hustle culture, have had the being tied to a desk. You don't leave your desk until you've done X amount of calls. You don't do this, you don't do that. The way it's grounded a lot of people, and look, there's obviously negatives to it. There's obviously negatives and there's a lot of positives about having a positive work culture and having a bit more that people have got more freedom. And I know everyone in this call has done what they want to do for a bit of freedom, and a bit of free, and there's got to be an element of that. I do regret not having the hustle culture and the grounding, and I think there's a lot said for it.
But just to stop you there, I did give you an option to have that hustle culture, but you ghosted me in London with 8 interviews set up over 2 days. What a bad guy!
I didn't get 2 of them. Didn't like me. What I did. I'm not big-headed. I think I didn't, in even my first role in recruitment, we might go into this, but that really wasn't a hustle culture vibe. I very much created my own hustle culture, my own structure, my own setting myself targets of making X amount of cold calls a day, and I'm not leaving until I do this. And I do, but honestly, I often regret not being around someone and being around an environment that is high performing. And I don't really understand why that's a negative thing. I don't understand why it's a negative thing to be pushed out of your comfort zone. I think the more people are pushed out the comfort zone and made into that, some of the people that have been created in that dinghy group, when I'm in that group, is unbelievable. You know, and I've never experienced that, but I'm probably one of the very few that gets jealous when I hear some of the stories of the ex-hustle culture game, I think.
Yeah. Or as we like to call it, recruitment 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I remember when I started in Robert Walters in Perth, I had 2 months to prove myself to get a visa. And then, you know, the visa kind of rolls on a little bit, and then they own you. So, you know, like, oh God, if I'm not at it, it's over. I'm back pulling pints in Brussels, what I was doing before or something, you know, like it's a scary one. And you just get used to it. You get formed with it. It's exhausting at the start, and then it becomes habit. And then you get that urgency that I can't seem to put into people. And we talked about it last week. It's very hard to train that remotely.
I can talk about a real world example, really, but we gotta be careful. I say we recently had somebody.
We had Alex Dick on last week. You don't have to be careful.
Yeah,
so that's going libel for sure.
No, actually, I'm not. It's not a criticism on this person individually. We just had to have a conversation of. I think people have still got this old perception of recruitment, of this amazing amount of money you can earn, etc. You can do all this, but don't want to put in that BD, that element of it. You know, it was, well, I want to do this, but I want to get to this. And I sat down and says, well, I'm showing you how you can get to this. We've got a commission structure. We've got a platform. And show you how you can earn it. I can't do it for you. You've got the capacity. You've got the desk. How do you want to do it? 2 weeks later, they left because it was just, well, if you want that, you can get it, but I can't do it for you, you know. And it is that element of, you can take what's the saying? You can take a horse to water, you can't make it drink, can you? It is that. Yeah, it is like, that.
There's the famous analogy of having a conversation with the sword and asking the sword, like, what was the most difficult part of your life? Well, it wasn't all the battles and that, because I was already sharp, and you know, I was cutting through things. It was being forged, and the heat and the grind and all of that, and the welding it and the smashing it and all of that, so it could come out like the weapon it is. What do you make of that, Dan?
I love that. I'm stealing that today.
Yeah.
the thing is, right, I think it's just going on what Nathan's just said there. It's this culture of instant gratification. You know, we're at a point where if you want a new Canada Goose jacket, yeah, you can get it on Klarna. You haven't got to work for it. If you want a new Rolex, you can get it on finance. Like, you haven't got to work for things. And that's translated, I think, into the modern recruiter a lot of the time. You're so right about being forged or having that kind of the hard upbringing in recruitment, because when it gets tough, you've got reference to go back to. You've got context. You've got experience when it's tough. A lot of the people aren't saying these things because they've never experienced it. You know, they've grown up recruiting in these boom times of 2020 plus, where it's like it's been all great and all gravy. But recruitment's not like that.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of them are experiencing the harder side of it now, and what that means and all the rest. But sometimes you have to be brought down a peg or two for that.
Yeah, and the future of recruitment will be way better because of this period. This is going to spit out all the pretenders, right? All the people that can't make it in this game will be purged from the market. And in 5 years' time, we're gonna have a better recruiter kind of landscape, and then they'll be referring to, I grew up recruiting in 2023, you know, post-COVID. And that will be the new 2008 recession line, I think.
Yeah, like you go to the expo now and you listen to some of the stuff, and it's like, this isn't real. Like, you're not real. Like, what? You're not like somebody I met. Like, this isn't my experience. Like, you're given a false image of what our industry is.
Yeah, we had a lot of that, and we'll probably go into it a little bit more. But you know, I started this business in April 2021, so I come out of it when it's in a little bit of a dip, a little bit, and then we had obviously the surge, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
We hired a few, and it was all great. And then, exactly like I've just said with some of the conversations I had to have at the start of the year, well, can't do it for you. You know, how are you going to do it? I can plan your day out. You've got the data, you've got everything. We've got the strategy, we've got these outreach, got everything, but just going to have to roll up your sleeves. You've got to do 10 times as much as what you were doing to have the same amount as what you were doing. So if you want to do double what you're doing, you've got to do 20 times the amount you wanted to do. And if you don't want to do that, I can't do it for you. And that is, and unfortunately, I think you're exactly right that it's making a few of them stronger. I've got a guy in my team now who targets himself on doing 25 cold calls a day, and he just will cold call, and he'll do it until he's done them cold calls, and he's banging his head against the wall. And then the market shifted over the last couple of months, and the success he's getting now is
right,
because he's got that little bit of grit where, you know, I've told you the story before. We had one that went one way, we've had one that's gone the other. Yeah. But in 2 years' time, he'll be absolute. When the market picks back up, he'll be absolute. If he still stays in a habit of making 25 cold calls a day still, he'll be absolutely flying. Wow. It's just that, it's that differentiator. And I think it's made me realize that, again, like I've said, you've got to give people platforms. You've got to train people. People need different development. People need individualization, and that's absolutely fine. But sometimes it is a little bit just about that grit. Yeah. It's just about that personality of, I will help you. You've got to help yourself.
Are you back in the office now?
We're in the office. We're still not a culture of fully in the office. We've got an office. Everyone's relatively local. We have days, like on a Monday, everyone comes in. We have probably 2 days a week where everyone comes in, and then it's up to other people what they want to do. So some of my guys do 3 days a week. There's a guy who does 5 days a week. Someone does 2 days a week. We're not precious over that. That's one of the things we're not precious over. We are hiring 2 people for a separate business, and they're going to be remote roles, but they're slightly different to recruitment, where we're going to do that. So yeah, we're still trying to adapt around that a little bit.
Walk us through what the 2 different businesses, and how did you stumble upon the new area?
Yeah, so well, obviously I started the recruitment business in April 21. We specialize, I've got to call it BDL Recruits, not recruitment. Went for a rebrand, and I'm still in the old habit of saying recruitment, so it's BDL Recruits. We started that in April 21. We specialize across 2 different fields, which is EdTech and educational training. So 2 quite niche different things. We do sales and operational level staff across both of those. We've got people in both different remits. 90% of the business is still in the UK. Dream is to expand that internationally. We've done a little bit of work across Europe. We're just waiting for the right time to do it. Land and expand a little bit. That's the dream, and that's the dream for the next 12 months probably. I used to be a person who would go, I want to do that, and I'd do it in a month. And now, like, I've surrounded myself with slightly better people, and you get stung by just trying to do half a job, and that's not really what we want to do. So over the next 12 months, we're going to start doing that a lot more. We opened a sister business called BDL Connects. In our training market, a lot of them are government funded. And there's a lot of government funding in terms of getting junior level talent into tech businesses for free. That is a funded program. And one of the things that they just don't understand, or don't have that level in these government funded, is the recruitment element, is the linking in, is the employer relationships, which is we're coming in as a bit of a brokerage. So we're becoming a brokerage between these tech businesses that we're working with and the government funded companies, which is really, well, it's going really well. We've got this on a contract basis. We've been running it for 3 months. We've now got 4 or 5 contracts that are on 12 months recurring revenue, which is really nice. So we've got that separate business, because
lovely.
The recruitment side's great, but starting at 0 every month. We have 2 or 3 contractors out at the minute, which is fantastic, which is great, and I love it, but not enough that we're a perm business. So yeah, starting at 0 every month. If I had hair before I started it, which I didn't, I'd definitely have none now. So yeah, it's nice to have that balance, and it's really worked that we've got both sides of the business. And over time, our plan is that all these new businesses, I mean, we're in with some some of the employees we're in with, it's really helped us open doors with some FTSE level businesses, which is amazing. Wow. So over time, in terms of going into the experienced hires in the recruitment side, we're going to start transitioning, start linking in for the experienced hires and the junior hires. So we're becoming a bit of an all-in-one consultancy is the plan.
Lovely. Would you say it's easier or more difficult to get cash out of government funded companies?
Once you're in, it's good. It's a lot more legislated, and you have to be doing things in a lot more. I've never looked at as many procurement SLAs, things like that we have to be ticking a lot of boxes, which is not my area of expertise. And we've got someone in the business who's a lot better at that than me now, thankfully. But once you're in, it's good, and it's a remit I've been working in for about 6-7 years. So it is a remit that I understand these training providers, these government providers. So they're a bit more of a brokerage. So we're becoming that kind of middle ground on that. But it's a lot more legislated in terms of the way things are. But once you're in, it's obviously a lot easier, but you have to have a lot more understanding. It's not as I know we've just been talking about hustle culture. It's not as cold cally. It's not that kind of remit. It is very much, you have to understand your market and you have to be providing a valued service into that in order for it to be justified.
Really. But there's a different type of hustle with that, right? Because to get, like you say, if you're the founder and you're trying to get, like, you haven't got that person in the business, it's the hustle to get through that SLA. It's the hustle to get through that tender. It's like, and whereas you think, am I bothered about doing this? Or like, it seems like extra work. Like, it's not all cold calls. Like there's different types of work, right? Yeah. Especially as a founder, like, you've also got to, yeah, fair enough. You start the business in 2021, but you're also running a business, like, which is tough in itself, right?
Yeah, and obviously it's been a bit of a challenge for me, as I say. I've not got. I've never pretended I've got all the answers, and I think that's been a massive learning curve for me over the last couple of years. I'm very, what am I good at? And that's something I've had to learn a lot of. And obviously we're not a huge business, we're not this like FTSE level business. I don't think that, but it's finding out what you're good at. And what I'm good at is talking to the customers and growing the business. And that's really what I've stuck to doing now. And that's really what I spend most of my day doing. We've got someone in the business who is marketing operations, who's very good operationally, day-to-day thing.
And a good advisor as well.
Yeah, got a good advisor.
Not me.
The better version of him. But it's been a huge, it's been things like that. These last couple of years, it has been leaning on different people, not thinking you're this epicenter of all the knowledge and you know absolutely everything and you've got all the answers. It's using people like Charlotte, and also using Charlotte. I mean, I think Charlotte did a whole day's consultation, didn't she, of the business, and a complete strategic review of the business and everything. And it's kind of chucking pride out the window a little bit. And that's what I've got a lot better at. Yeah.
Dan's going through it at the moment. Like, she'll cut everything down to every miniature piece of a process and question everything. And then you have to reevaluate, and it might work and it might not. But as somebody who came up with the idea or the strategy or the piece of content or whatever it is, you have to, okay, can I take this feedback? How does that work? Okay, can we improve it? Do we need to improve it? Do we push back? Do we not? It's just good having different voices, whether they're right or wrong all the time.
Charlotte's exceptional. She's very talented at what she does. Like, she's doing the exact right thing that she should be doing. Phenomenal.
It's been really good, and it's helped me a lot. We did that. We spent a lot of time going through that as a business, and I've got three or four people in the business who we probably trust and want to be more involved in decision making, particularly from the recruitment side and the other side of the business. And it's getting them involved and having a lot more involvement. And I think we've got Charlotte in to do a bit of training with the whole team. I'm very conscious that as a small business, they can just hear one voice all the time, and that would just be me. And I don't know everything. I've not been there, done everything. And it's embracing that and getting different people involved in the business. And it's helped grow the business because it's not become as reliant on me, and it's not me having all the answers because I haven't got all the answers.
Yeah.
And that's just something you have to adapt to, I think.
Well, when you look at it now, and I know Charlotte's more on the operations side, but I'll steer more into Dan's expertise on the performance side now. What could you do to, I don't know, get get your average billers up to bigger billers? Like, how could you, what do you think it is in the business that you could squeeze an extra 20% out of? And I don't mean the account management government side, the
pure recruitment side. Yeah, I think what we've got at the minute is we have got the right people in the business in their remit. I'm trying to give people a lot more control over their area. So be that be tech, be that be the training companies, etc. We've made our data very clean. That's been the key thing that's gained the extra 20-25% out of us. We've got a head of operations and marketing who's involved in both sides of the business, and she's exceptional at kind of content writing, copywriting, and making sure everything's streamlined. And I think it's individualized content that we're sending out to each individual customer, client, and spending a lot more time around that and making sure that everybody is seen as a specialist in their market. A lot of it is becoming a lot more. I've never been a KPI run business because, and I think that's from a selfish perspective of I've never needed them because I've always been quite self-managed. Not everybody can be self-managed, and that's something I learned. And that KPI of people actually respond really well to. No, we want individual mailers sent out every week. We want these amount of LinkedIn messages. We want these amount of cold calls. We want these amount of CVs. We've concentrated a lot more on the inputs, whereas I'd say the first year of the business, I was solely looking at the outputs. Like, how much money have we made? Oh, how much money have we made? Okay, and obviously I looked at the top level things of how many were found from LinkedIn, how many found from this, but I was very, very top level, and concentrating more on the inputs has completely changed our business. And having everybody have control of their own inputs and sitting with everybody and giving them control, but also moving that around each individual has really helped because everybody likes that. Everybody loves a target, and putting that in actual terms of how much money you can make and what you can do and what you can be involved with. Everyone's motivated by different things. I've got guys in the business at the minute that really, really want to be involved in the longer term strategy of where their division goes. Brilliant. Come in, let's have a conversation about it. I've got one guy who could not care less about the strategy.
Is he the 25 a day cold caller?
Yeah, a little bit.
So let me ask you, because that he's the one that fascinates me. Because I think you as an owner can do the business stuff. Dan, when I hear that 25 a day cold caller, I don't think they build many of them anymore. And what I want to know is how, as a business, can somebody see that and go, I want his energy to infect everybody and this to become the new standard?
Couple of things. So culture, a BD culture is huge. There are so many companies out there that have just got their legacy accounts. They found the one maybe a few years back. They've lived and dined off of those for years, right? And there isn't a BD culture within the business. And secondly, I think that data, like you've hit the nail on the head, Nathan. Like having clean data, a lot of the times it's a case of people try and get more out of somebody, like in terms of inputs, and they'll whip them harder and they'll say, just do more BD prospecting, right? Do more cold calling to clients, which is great. But when your people are scratching for the data and they're scratching for the people to call and they're trying to make lists, like have that stuff first, right? That's the first thing is have that. If you're going to practice your free kicks, have 100 balls lined up before you're going to kick them. Don't kick one and then go to the shop and buy another one and come back 20 minutes later. You've got to get into a rhythm. And I think it's culture is the answer to that question.
And can I just ask, just on that point, do you think the research piece should be done by the business or by that consultant, considering there's so many different skill sets out there and some of us are retarded?
If you're gonna be an expert in your space, like, and this isn't just about your desk, about your business. I think this is just a life lesson, right? Be accountable. Don't say I couldn't make the calls because the business didn't give me the leads, right? I bet you haven't really got to, like you say, the cold caller within your business, you haven't got to tell him what to do. He's probably accountable in other areas of his life as well. So don't make excuses, right? Be accountable. And if the business isn't giving you that, like, the business and the consultant should be working in tandem for a line goal. But if the founder's on other things and like, don't make excuses as to why you can't get that data and make it happen. The best guys will always make it happen no matter what. And I think it's just about accountability.
Just one more question on that. I'm like Columbo here. When should that research be done? Because one of my pet hates is people just doing lists and not taking action on things.
Yeah, at the end of the when like in the dead times, right? I'm a big fan of 3 sprints a day. Right. So a sprint in the morning, a sprint at lunch, and a sprint in the afternoon. You're doing your admin and building your lists and doing all your search and all the rest of it. But in those sprints, I'm doing nothing but calling, nothing but. And even if you get through and have a good conversation, the danger is people are like, oh, I just had a good conversation. I'm going to follow up. I'm going to send the terms now. I'm going to send the job spec now. Like, just park that shit for another hour, right? And just say, look, I've got a couple more calls to make. You expect an email from me probably in about an hour or so, but I've got to jump on another one off the back of this. Get back on the phone. And then often the times that you're sending those emails, you're doing that admin stuff or you're doing whatever list it is, it's going to be the same email anyway, because it's coming from the same list. So if you're going to be good at what you do, batch what you do. But like the first thing in the morning, like your day doesn't start in the morning, your day starts the night before. So plan the list in dead time, or the good guys will do it whilst they're watching EastEnders or Love Island or whatever. Like, they open the laptop, make a list, right? These are people I'm going to call tomorrow, because they love it. They love the thrill of this job. And I think that you get a few different types of people in this job, but there's definitely those people out there.
Yeah, but Nathan, you remember from the mastermind, that was Rich Rosen's approach, wasn't it?
100%. I've just been laughing as you've been saying it, because everything you've just said, we went through this kind of journey. I feel like an actual accountability, massive. I completely changed the whole business, I think, around accountability. We used to have, so we do a little bit in, I mentioned like operational things, etc. And I think one of the guys just said, the data isn't quite clean enough. And I said, well, we need a bit of accountability now. Well, we've got a marketing person, we've got an ops person, go and work on it, because that's fine, but you can't come to me in 3 months and say the exact same. So how we're solving that from now to how we're doing that in 3 months, and giving people the accountability to go, well, let's go and sort it then. Let's be part of this, and what do you need it to look like? Let's get it there. Because we've got to keep moaning about it. It's about the accountability of how we get there. And we're lucky that we've got that in there. And it's funny that you say the guy who does the cold calls. I massively agree. One of the biggest things that used to infuriate me when I used to work at my old place and managing a team was people would do a cold call. They'd be in this cold call rhythm. They'd be in this BD rhythm. Someone would say yes, and then they'd just stop what they were doing and go and do that. And I used to split my day into, you'd probably quite like him, Dan. There's a guy called Ryan Serhan, who's an estate agent. He's a real estate in America. He does all these sales.
They'll like Serhan.
Yeah. He does yeah. There's something called find, do, follow. And he says, split your day into 3 things. Just find new business, find new prospects, and do that in a block. You don't do anything else other than that. Do the stuff you said you were going to do, and then follow is just follow up. Absolutely. And exactly what you've just said there, I say to my guys, it's things you can't teach, unfortunately. And I'm not just saying that I'm this perfect recruiter, because I definitely wasn't. But looking back, when I was building my desk in my place, I'd be sat watching Netflix at night and there'd be something on, but I'd just be on LinkedIn. I'd just be connecting with new directors in the sector. It's not hard. Like, just send if I'm on my phone, instead of being on Instagram or Twitter, just go on LinkedIn and just connect with people at night. Like, it's just little things like that. If you're doing that, if you're connecting with 20 different people a day, you're setting yourself up for the next day, because then the next day they're in my find. They're in the people I'm going to prospect the next day. They're in the people I'm going to follow up with. They're that. They're with this. And it's just, you're absolutely right about it starts the night before. Absolutely. The amount of guys who used to come in and they'd sit down at 9 o'clock, and by 9:30, they'd made the plan. 10 o'clock, they'd had the 15th coffee, so they've balled themselves up to go and do it. The best people are the best people who are prepared. And that is absolutely right. And I think this is what we said earlier, isn't it, about that hustle culture of, you can't train certain things. That is just a mentality thing. And you've either got that or you haven't. And you can try and prepare people in the business to be like that. And you can coach people and you can show people the good examples, but people just need to do it. And
yeah, I wonder about that. I think, so as an industry, we like to bring in people without experience. Can we all agree on that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And we like to indoctrinate them over a 2-month period. Again, any objections?
No, I think it's fair. Yeah.
Okay, so we do that to create the sense of urgency in the hustle culture. And then after those 2 months, we know who we're keeping and who's not going to make it. And we kind of, if 1 and 3 make it, we now have 2 brackets, the ones that are going to be okay and maybe the outlier. So I think you can create it to a point, and the metrics define that. But how do we keep it? How do we keep that going beyond the first bit, when they're experienced, when things get a bit cushier? Like, what are our thoughts on that?
Is it not fair to say, though, that in any era, like what you've just said, I've always said the exact same, by the way. I used to work at a business where we'd hire grads, we'd hire 8 of them. And I'd always say, when we're in these grad meetings, I say, 1's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
3 is going to be good. 2 are going to be absolute crap and they'll be gone within the first month. And that is, like, talking brutally, that's what's going to happen. They're just not going to enjoy it. Yeah. 2 in about 2-3 months' time, we're going to be having conversations about if they're quite right. And I feel like that is the same with absolutely everyone I talk to. And is that just not a case of not everybody is an elite performer? And you can take some people to do it. And it is a case of that is the reason that people are elite performers. You know, there is the £500,000 billers, and they are niche, and they're niche for a reason, because they are in the top 20%. They are in the top 10, 20%. And that just comes straight through with the grads. And is that not just because it's a personality and a work rate?
It's a bell curve, right? And the thing is that the bell curve in your company can be like within the top 20%. Like your average performers can be top 20% in industry if your culture's right. I do believe that. And you're absolutely bang on in the way that you have to have the bottom 80% to have the top performers. I always talk about the 3 R's, right? And this is stolen from the software world, where they talk about this a lot. To grow the business, you need to recruit the right individuals. And these are the only 3 things they believe that like a sales leader should be interested in, right? Recruiting the right individuals, like A players, driving revenue, like getting them very, very, very profitable. But then the 3rd R, which I think is actually starts to become the biggest issue when you've got good people, is retaining them. And that's the piece where, like, if someone's destiny is to start their own recruitment business, like, and that's like, you know, they're a founder and they've got that in them, very difficult to keep those people. So you kind of want to keep, like, you want to keep them as long as possible, but it's also it's getting those average people to very good, I think, is the real key to running a very profitable business.
I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree that I think if you can get your average performers to being good performers, that's what changes a business. I absolutely agree. If you can get that extra 25% out of the average to make them good billers, that's absolutely right. The people who don't just do kind of what is expected and just go that little bit above, if you had that with absolutely every business, then that's where you find that's your secret sauce, isn't it, really?
Yeah, 1.7 deals a month is the kind of the striving point for the middle line. And the PLCs do that quite well, because their growth and their cash and all of that means that these average people become managers. And the outlier goes and joins a boutique, goes and sets up by themselves. But that's okay, because they've made them enough profit within the 18 months to 3 years for it to work out.
Yeah, it's really, really funny, actually, that you just said that, isn't it? Because, you know, when I had the conversation with the people that I mentioned who you won't hear anymore, I did say the difference between being okay and a really good performer can literally be 2 deals a month.
Yeah.
You can get yourself 2 more deals a month. And I says, when I'm talking to you about that you work 40, 50 hours a week, whatever you work, and I'm saying I need to send 2 more CVs that are going to get a job in the space of that month, and that will transfer you, and it will probably make you an extra £20,000, £30,000 a year on top of what you're earning now. That is how small the metrics are, that your inputs just need to produce an extra 2 CVs that are really good a month.
But they're choosing that. Like, average is a choice. Like, that's the thing, because I think these are the same people that they're not, whilst they're watching Love Island, aren't they're not going on LinkedIn. They're not doing that. They're choosing like after 5 o'clock. That's my time, right? And which is absolutely fine. But you know, that's a choice. I think to be very good, and often as well. This is the good to great is really where like I get my kicks from, right? I the one-on-one stuff I enjoy it, like you know, I enjoy the content, but the good to great, getting someone from average to exceptional, like that's where I really get my kicks. And it can often be that someone like you take an engine, for example, right? It's firing on, you know, maybe 3 out of 4 cylinders. It can sometimes be a really small tweak that, and it could just be tightening the spark plug, and then suddenly this thing roars into life. So being able to spot the potential within, I think the first thing is to get the potential within your business, right? Is to hire well and to breed those types of people into your business. And then it's having the skill to go, right, what levers do I need to pull to get that person from there to there? And it sounds like you've got a really good formula within your business, Nathan, for sure.
We have, and just to make it like clear exactly what we said. And when I first started this, our aim wasn't to build this multi-million-pound corporation that makes this. The whole purpose of us building this was to try and build a middle ground. We want to be a high-performing culture that feeds into your lifestyle. You know, I don't want to be a culture of I expect people here till 9 o'clock at night. I'll be the person that if they're here till 9 o'clock at night, I say, well, you need to be off what you're doing. Like, you know, let's find the middle ground. I want the high performers, and I want that. I want the people that I have to tell them that you've done enough. Let's go and do it. You know, I want that. The whole reason I started this was not to know we've spoke about hustle culture, but we want a good lifestyle. You know, we want something that can build into what people are doing. My dream has always been that people will work for this business and will be part of this business because they want to be. They're making good money, they're doing well, but they've also got that balance. You know, and we look after people, and that's the key thing. There are businesses out there that you will go and earn an extra 20-30%. You'll be pushed that extra 20-30%. That is fine. We know what our niche is now. We know that we're there for them people who are good at what they do, they enjoy what they do, and they want that control over their own life. And we'll give you that as long as we're still a high performing culture. You know,
let me ask a question there just on high performance versus burnout. So Roy Keane talks about stress being a positive thing, and we know that we monitor like sports performers by the different colors of the stress that they're putting on their body. I think you can only have so much in the red zone before somebody burns out. How do we know how close they are to that in recruitment, and what's the difference between getting driven at that at the start to make sure that the engine works right to I'm stressed, I can't do it. Like what do you think, Dan? Because you've come from one of those businesses that's well known for just driving people really well. And you've now seen so many other different businesses that are subpar to that. So where does that live?
I think if you're going to do something, do it well, right? If you're going to work really well, be efficient in what you're doing. I think the worst thing in the world is being at work and thinking about home life, right? Yeah. And then being at home thinking too much about work. Like there's definitely a cutoff. For me, it's about compartmentalizing and segmenting. And also, like if you're going to go on holiday well. Like, you know, take the time. Like, yeah, sometimes it's difficult being a founder. Like it's a pretty unique position, but
it takes years to be able to have that holiday. I think I got it this year.
But then you've earned it, right? And people will look at you and just look at the success and think like, oh well, you know, isn't it okay I'm just going to start my. They don't see the hard yards. I think you've got to put in the graft at the beginning. It's similar when you're running a desk. I think that takeoff period where the plane's getting off the ground, I don't think there's room for. Personally, I don't think there's room for have a great life. I think if you're serious about building like a desk that's probably going to pay you for the rest of your career, once you've built a niche and you're really into that niche and you know you're a very, very, very good biller, chances are you're not leaving that niche, right? And you might even start a business off the back of it. And yeah, you might be able to take a bit of time off. I think in the early days, you've got to work hard. You've got to build something. It's not easy. Take the time for sure. Like take a holiday, but in the beginning, I think take 1 week, not 3. People want
Nathan, both ways. If we turn this to you, not your team, are you taking care of your own health and making sure you don't burnout.
Yeah, I don't mind saying I'm always quite comfortable. I struggled probably. I had that first year you're on this massive this train, you just at it.
Mm.
I had about 18 months of that, and it got to the start of the year, and I remember like just not crashing completely, but you think like I felt it here. And I then needed to look after myself, and the business got better from that. I lost quite a bit of weight. I'm in the gym. I'm looking after myself because I just
look healthier.
I lost about 2 stone. I was just like very like just right now. We've got to look after me. And now I probably had a month or two where I was just very like, and now I feel a lot better. And it is a lot about that. I've still not managed to have that holiday yet of switching off for 2-3 weeks, but I'm very comfortable. This is what I chose. And if it was easy, everyone would do it as a founder. That's my mentality. Maybe that's wrong. And over time, that will get a lot better. But I've got better at little things. Like I could go on holiday, and it might be that I just spend this 2-hour block where I'm on my emails, but I'll have 2 hours where I'm not looking at it.
Yeah.
It's things like that. Like, but that's the life that I've accepted because that's the ambition that I've got, and that's what I want to be. I remember even when I was building this desk that you say, I remember going to Bali for 10 days, and I remember running back to the room to go and do a phone call with a client because they need to negotiate a fee and things like that. And it was like, but I've always been that. Like, I don't, stress is a horrible word, so this is only for the want of a better word. I don't mind a bit of controlled stress. Like, I'm better when I'm busy. Like when we're in a down period, and if we weren't busy, I would be worse than when I'm doing that. I like being busy. I like spinning plates. That's where I find my comfort. So, and I'm in answer to your question, I've gone on for about 5 minutes there. Yes, I've got a lot better at looking after myself.
You're not there yet, but you're learning.
Yeah, I'm on that journey, and things will get better. I say that we've just opened a second business in the last 3 months, but we love that. Like that's what we've signed up to do. I think it is that, and I think if people, it will be that I've just spoken to 2 people who used to work in my old place. They've started their own business, doing really well. First 3-4 months, great. People aren't paying invoices. So you start getting stresses like those things like that. Like no matter how good it's going as a founder, you're always going to have these things that come up that will just come up. And it is that thing of, even when you're trying to run a boutique as a one-man band that is working around your family life, you're still going to have them stresses. That's just part of it. And I think
Dan, I know you're on your own journey with this at the moment, and you almost hit burnout when you were launching that company last year, and you came here. We put on the gloves. We got after it, and now I see a weight set up in your back in the back area there, and
between sessions, and it's just getting in, right? It's like between sessions, I'm trying to do a few sets. I've got 5 minutes, like jump on the weights. It's a great setup.
Yeah.
But I just listened to Nathan talk there, and people. So there are going to be people that listen to this and go like, 3 lads on their high horse, toxic, more stuff the same. Like, they're probably not the audience. Firstly, secondly, there's nothing like, I listened to the Bali story, and I think that is healthy. I do think that is healthy. It's healthy to care about your business whilst you're away. I think to go, do you know what, guys? I'm on holiday. Nothing matters. I'm not reachable. Let the walls burn down. How is that healthy for anyone? Like you've got to. There's a balance, but especially when it's your baby, like you want to make sure that it's okay. And there's
finding balance. Balance is just the key, isn't it? Balance is the key. And it's having the right, and like, without going too much into out of recruitment life, it's having the right people in your life that understand that as well. So I mean, you could start a business with your wife, like Dualta has, which I can, but you're not moving away from that. But it's having the right people that understand that, hasn't it?
And let's all be clear, she works harder than me, right? So
we all know.
like I'm talking about hustle culture here. I've got a personal trainer. I got a daily yoga routine, and I do jiu-jitsu in the evening. So like I'm balanced, right? But I'm able to do that for a couple of reasons. One, she is in my life and she organizes a lot of stuff. But the main bit is, if it's a repetitive task, I make note of it. I give it to somebody else. If it's a bullshit meeting, I don't do it. Like, Napoleon said, like, if it's really important, it'll come back in 6 months' time, and I'll have to deal with it. But there's so much bullshit meetings that you don't need to do, that you can get somebody else to do in your business, or repetitive tasks. So if it's marketing, operations, scheduling, and even, I think, if you're building a business, the bit that all founders have to learn is they're not as special as they think they are. And that control piece that you were trained is important, but it's holding you back from freeing you up. And it's also holding you back from making your staff accountable for that. And then if there's a skill gap, then you train that, and then you make them accountable. So it's that journey that we go on as a founder to get to a point where, okay, no, this is what I'm good at. As you said earlier, I'm going to focus on this. And if I keep myself healthy, then I'll be able to do this for longer. You ever listen to that episode of Joe Rogan where he says he promises himself certain things on a Sunday night? So this week I will have 4 yoga sessions, 5 MMA, X amount of weightlifting. He does his archery, all of that. And he makes a promise, and he sticks to that, and then he fits everything else in around it. And as you said before, we did this for freedom, and to get to that point, there's some hard yards.
Yeah, absolutely that. And that's what I meant at the start when I said about that 18-month period. I think I had to go back and go, I did this for freedom, and I did this for a reason. But then, like, not being too hard on yourself and just accepting it. And I went through that journey of not feeling sorry for I'm not a feel sorry for myself kind of character. But what I mean is, I was just like, well, no, this is what you signed up for. And this is that. And I think if you've not got that element of, I think a lot of people glorify the concept of, like I said, even being a one-man band boutique. It's not as easy as what it seems. Even that, when you're chasing invoices and you're chasing this and you've not got different revenue streams, it's not easy. And if it was easy, everybody would do it. So you have to accept the hard yards that come with it. And so that's
just on that. I've coached over 100 one-man bands, and most of them have burnout. And they call it a lifestyle business, and they all have shit lifestyles. And they have a great lifestyle for a bit, and then they don't, and then they do, and then they don't. And it's because they haven't been taught how to train people, how to manage people, and they haven't learned how to do that. And then they're not accountable, so they're blaming other people. And it's a repetitive thing. You must have seen that, Dan.
100%. This is the other side of it as well. Like I've seen your life firsthand, right? I've been to the Rock, and we've rolled together, right? And I think that was a conscious choice to build that business. And you've built a business. You haven't, like a lot of founders, when they jump into that, like, I'm going to go and work for myself because my business is making all the profit, and they don't realize actually why they're giving up their billings is because there's way more to it. Is that they go and work for themselves, and then they've got a job, but they haven't got a career. They haven't built a business. They've just got another job.
Gentlemen, we're almost an hour in. So thank you so much. This is the most awesome bald episode that we've ever done. When are we having a party on the Rock? That's what I want to know.
When you invite me.
All right. Let's make that happen. I'm gonna have to let you have a play with our new platform. How's it coming along, Dan?
It is nearly cooked. So Charlotte's taken it to pieces. We've got 135 videos that have been edited, scripted, purposely written for 2023 and beyond. It's not legacy. This is how it works in 2005. This is today's content, right? And I said to Charlotte, I said to Dualta, and they rip this thing to pieces. Let's build something that is phenomenal. And we're nearly there, man. It's so exciting.
Well, we are nearly there, but Charlotte is ripping it to pieces as it stands, and it's awesome. But to create anything, a product from scratch, and download the information, all the information we have, all the information I've got off founders, all the information you've had from all the companies that you've trained and all the rest, and to put it into a coherent bit of kit that is going to train rookies up and empower founders to make better decisions. it's going to take a lot of work. But I'm proud of it. Nathan, we'll have to get you on the beta of the project so we can get your eyes on it.
Sounds good. Yeah, love it.
Any last bits of advice for anybody who's got up to the next stage, their business, you got people working for you, it's profitable. Like, what do you want to say to that one-man band, maybe that's got aspirations?
I think understand what you're good at. Throw your pride out the window. That was the big thing for me. Understand what you want to do and how you can make that work around you. Be willing to adapt. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to suck it up and do things that you don't particularly love, but make sure that if there's exactly what you said earlier, if there's something you don't enjoy doing, outsource it. There are so many options that you can free your time up to make sure you enjoy what you do and you keep that motivation for doing it. And create accountability. People enjoy accountability. And if people don't enjoy accountability, then you haven't got the right people in the business. So get people in the business who want to be accountable for what they're doing, and you'll be absolutely fine.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Daniel.